green tomatoes. I've served them over some greens with the remoulade sauce, and they are to die for. And I'm going to show you guys how I make them. They are not difficult, and if you're a Southern girl like me, you're going to be happy with this recipe. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to slice my green tomato. So I have my mandolin out here, and I want it 1/4 of an inch thick. So I'm going to set it to that. This is my favorite mandolin. I'll link it in a minute for you guys so y'all can shop it if you want. I think it's safe. I get the top of this, just push it down on the tomato, and I just slice. Like so. So the first thing I'm going to do after I slice my tomatoes, I'm going to spread it out on a baking sheet, and I want to draw as much moisture as possible out of my green tomatoes so that they don't get soggy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sprinkle them with a little bit of kosher salt and set them aside while I get my assembly line set up for the frying of them. And we're going to pat them dry in just a minute. But this salt is going to help draw out as much moisture as possible. So we'll let those sit for about 10 minutes. Okay, so for our batter assembly line to make these nice and crispy, I have an egg in here that's whisked. And then over here, what's going to go in here is 1/2 cup of tapioca starch, 1/2 cup of almond meal or almond flour, a teaspoon of baking soda. Then we're going to add just a little bit of seasoning to this. We're going to do 1/2 teaspoon onion powder, 1/2 teaspoon garlic powder, and 1/2 teaspoon paprika. We're going to give that a little stir, get out all the clumps, and get a fork. Okay, so here's kind of the weird part, just because it's going to feel like you are totally negating yourself, but I'm going to pat dry all these, and then I'm going to salt and pepper them again, which I know sounds weird, but it drew all that moisture out. We're using the paper towel to just get that all off, and then we want them to taste nice and flavorful, and salt and pepper is essential for that, especially when you're frying food. So I pat all these dry real good, and then we're going to salt and pepper them. Okay, so those are all pat dry. I'm going to season them one more time with some kosher salt, black pepper, and then let's get over to our assembly line and get these frying before any moisture draws out of them again. So the quicker, the better, and I'm going to show you guys how I do that. So here is my assembly line situation. I've got my seasoned tomatoes, the egg, the flour mixture. I have been heating up since I was dabbing those dry and seasoning them. I've been heating up 1/2 cup of coconut oil over medium heat in a Dutch oven. The reason why it's in a Dutch oven is to avoid all the splatter. And then a paper towel lined plate for after I fry things. So let's get going. I want to make sure that this oil is hot, and I just splattered just a bit of water. Now I know it's nice and hot just the way I want it. And you're basically going to take each tomato and you want to batter it right before you put it in the oil mixture, because the longer this sits, since it is a grain-free batter, the soggier it gets. So I am battering this up literally right before it's going in to avoid any soggy green tomatoes, because nobody wants a soggy fried green tomato. So that's going in there, and we're just going to keep going. And I'm probably only going to be able to do about 3 at a time. So like I said, you just go as you can. And oh yeah, they're going to fry for about 3 minutes per side. And you don't want it completely caked on, but you can see it kind of has a hard time sticking since tomatoes are have all the seeds in the middle. But you can kind of see what I've done here. My fingers are more caked than the tomato because I only have one hand to do this with since I'm filming. So I'm going to probably do 3 or 4 at a time in here. So I'll show you what it looks like once I flip it. Okay, so this one has been in there for about 3 minutes. So I am going to gently flip it over. And you can see it's getting nice and brown and crispy in there. Oh my gosh, they smell so good too, y'all. This is the real deal. Oh, shoot, this is hard with one hand. I'm sorry. Okay, there. We got them all flipped over. We're going to do this other side for 2 to 3 more minutes. We'll put them on this paper towel line plate. Wow, that is, I can never say. And then I'm going to finish those up and we will be ready to eat. Okay, so I am just using a spatula to transfer it to a paper towel lined plate. I got it that time. And you should do this always with fried food. While they're still got that grease on them, just sprinkle a little bit more kosher salt on them so that it sticks right to it. Now I am going to get back to my assembly line, knock this last batch out, and then we will have our fried green tomatoes done. Now while I'm working on this second batch, I just want to mention you probably are going to want to do 2 green tomatoes, which is fine, but the reason why the recipe I didn't say call for 2 is because of one thing. You are going to have to replace the oil halfway through. So if you're going to do a second batch, you can see down there that that oil gets a lot of almond flour down there, and it can make the green tomatoes look kind of burnt, even though they won't be, which right now it's still good. I could probably do one more batch in here. But sometimes when I've made these, there's too much almond flour in the bottom, it gets all burnt, and I would have to toss out that coconut oil, refill it with another ½ cup, and start the process over, which isn't too grueling, but just FYI, that's the deal. Okay, and there you have it, a delicious little lunch here with fried green tomatoes and lettuce and the remoulade on top. I topped it with chives, and I am ready to dig in. Look how good those look. Perfection.